Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1931 French musical Freedom for Us.
Parlez moins fort.
Quel idiot!
Comment le trouvez-vous?
Notre ami est admirable.
Admirable, admirable.
N'est-ce pas?
Magnifique.
Vous parlez sérieusement?
Non.
Hey, that's not fair. You haven't even seen the full review. I think this one's going to be pretty good. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Freedom for Us was directed by René Clair. This is considered to be his crowning achievement in movie making, his magnum opus, the greatest film that he ever made. It has groundbreaking use of sound. Clair used sound that was expressive as opposed to being realistic, which is what a lot of directors were doing back then, because this is still the early stages of sound and they were still trying to figure it all out. It has bold and highly influential satire of modern industrialization and mass production. A lot of this movie focuses on what the French thought of Henry Ford's assembly line, which was created in 1913, and kind of where they thought the future of that assembly line could go. It influenced Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times. In fact, the people who were involved in this movie, not Claire, but the other people who were involved, sued Charlie Chaplin because they said that this movie was too similar to Modern Times, and they believed that he stole a lot of his ideas from their movie. Now, Claire wanted nothing to do with this lawsuit because he said that Charlie Chaplin was a huge influence on him, an influence on movies in general, and if Charlie Chaplin had stolen his ideas, he considered it to be a great compliment and not something that they should be suing over, but they did anyway. But without Claire's, obviously Claire did not want to. Now, this movie also pioneered mixing fantasy and realism. So this movie basically involves two main characters. We have Louis and Emile. Louis and Emile are in prison/jail in the beginning of the movie, and they are working on an assembly line. There's a really cool shot in the beginning where they show a really long shot of the assembly line with all the criminals who are working on it. It's just beautifully, the cinematography in this movie is absolutely beautiful, and I love this opening shot that they show. So Louis and Emile decide that they're going to break out of prison, but when the time comes, only Louis is able to. It's kind of a botched escape. Louis escapes, and when he escapes, he kind of falls onto a bicycle. In a very funny scene, he falls onto this bike, he gets on it, he starts riding it, and he accidentally wins a race, which I think is great foreshadowing for kind of what the rest of the movie is. So after he does this, he decides he needs to come up with some money, so he robs a record store, and then he opens his own record company where he's selling records and phonographs, and he ends up building this company into a huge corporation where he becomes extraordinarily rich. He lives in this big, beautiful mansion of a house, and things are going absolutely fantastic for him. Now, Emile ends up also breaking out of prison, and is what starts out to be a very sad scene where he tries to kill himself by hanging, but when he ties the rope onto the bars and jumps off the bed, the bars end up falling off and he's able to escape. When he escapes, he sees a beautiful young woman working across the street and decides he wants to go over there and try to win her heart. Now, as luck would have it, this woman is working for Louis, so him and Louis are reunited. Now, upon seeing him, Louis thinks that he's going to try to extort him or try to get him recaptured, so he tries to offer him money to make him go away, but Emile only has good intentions here, sort of. Now, he wants nothing to do with extortion or money or trying to get Louis rearrested. He just wants to win the heart of this girl who works with Louis. So Louis decides he's going to try to set the two of them up, but this woman already has a boyfriend that she works with and she is very much in love with, and refuses to leave him even though Emile is the friends of this millionaire who is basically her boss. Now, eventually later on in the movie, there is this person who was imprisoned with Louis and Emile who finds them, recognizes them as two people who escaped, and tries to basically extort money from them, or he will tell the cops about what's going on and they will be rearrested. Now, eventually, Louis and Emile decide that they are not going to be extorted, and the guy goes to the cops and says, look, here's the two criminals who escaped, and they are going to be rearrested, but at the end of the movie, through some hilarious hijinks, they are not arrested, and they ended up getting away. And that's the brief synopsis of the movie. I thought this movie was hilarious. To be honest, if you've seen any of my other reviews when I reviewed every movie that's 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes before, and I ranked them also, but if you watched any of those early movie reviews I did where I was reviewing French movies from the 20s and 30s and 40s, I generally don't like early French film. I don't understand the comedy usually. I don't understand, especially the romance movies. A lot of them are considered to be these great romance pieces, but I just don't get them usually. But this movie I thought was hilarious. Way ahead of its time. It is more like Charlie Chaplin type comedy. It is more like slapstick comedy, and I thought it was fantastic. It's definitely one of probably my favorite early French films now. I think it's that good. The comedy is fantastic. I understood all of it. Thought it was hilarious. It's a lot of physical comedy, a lot of situational comedy. It's done very well in this movie. I also love the fact that this is a commentary on the fact that jail and prison for me is something that someone's supposed to go to, and they're supposed to be able to go to prison, go to jail, and then be reintroduced back into society and live a productive life in society and not break the law and not commit any more crimes and just be able to live a normal life. And that is definitely what Louis and Emile do here. In fact, Louis is so good when he gets out of prison, when he breaks out and he works this new life, that he becomes like a millionaire. And at the end of the movie, he has done so much for society. He has contributed so much to his town, so much to his city. He has basically created this assembly line that at the end of the movie he ends up creating the assembly line where you just put parts into the assembly line and it creates the product for you. So he's so inventive and he's so revolutionary with what he's doing, and he is really a pillar of the community. But because he had this previous jail escape, they want to lock him back up and put him back in prison. How much more could he be reformed? Yeah, I don't know. So is this a commentary on prison and what prison actually means and what it's supposed to do and how it doesn't actually work, and how once you're reformed anyway, it doesn't matter? I don't know, but that was probably my favorite part of the movie, is how much he's contributed to society and how well he's done after escaping, and they still want to put him back in jail at the end of the movie to serve the rest of his sentence, even though he definitely at the end of the movie is what you want to be when you're out of prison. He's completely reformed. So I love that part of the movie. I also like the assembly line, them looking into the future, thinking of what the assembly line could be, not just a place where you are you're one person assembling a specific part, then another person does another part. That is, in the beginning of the movie, that is what the assembly line is, but the gradual modernization of this assembly line to where at the end you don't even need people. In fact, Louis's character at the end of the movie, he decides he's going to leave the factory because he knows he's going to get arrested. So after he unveils this new factory where it builds the parts for you, he says, now we no longer need workers at this factory. We maybe just need a couple people to make sure everything's running correctly. But the factory will now work on its own. I'm giving this to the people, like I'm giving this to the workers. You no longer have to break your backs or do any type of physical labor. This will all do it for you. And at the end of the movie, the assembly line's going and the workers are just like off fishing because they're not needed. So I don't know if that's supposed to say that this is supposed to make the common workers' life better. In my opinion, though, like if these workers aren't needed, they will eventually be let go and they will be having a hard time finding another job because everything is modernized. But that's not the feeling I got at the end of the movie. I felt like this was supposed to make their lives better somehow, though I'm not exactly 100% sure how. But I thought this movie was hilarious. It's definitely ahead of its time in terms of technology, in terms of commentary. I thought it was beautiful. The cinematography is absolutely amazing, and like I said, I really like what they're saying about the prison system and the jail system, and how it doesn't necessarily work the way it's supposed to, and even when it does work, it doesn't exactly work out how it should. If I'm reading the movie right, I think I'm reading the movie right. I think I'm understanding what they're trying to say, and I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. Acting performances are also great by everyone. This movie is a 9 out of 10 for me, which I never thought I would give an early French film. They've been pretty rough for me, I'm gonna be honest. This is kind of a breath of fresh air when it comes to early French. But yeah, it is a 9 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called Limite, I believe is how you pronounce it. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.